How's it going, everyone? My name is Oscar Gonzalez. I am the UX/UI design manager here at In Time Tech. I have the privilege and honor of leading our amazing UX/UI design team here in the US, as well as mentoring some of our UX/UI designers across different regions where we have offices. And today we have a special person with us, and in a second he'll be able to introduce himself. But we have a amazing topic that we want to talk about, and that's about AI and the integration of UX/UI and what the future holds for our industry.
Hey everybody, I'm Don. I am about a year into my UX UI journey officially. It's been something I've done for in pieces at least a lot of my career, but now I get to do it full time. So looking forward to learning and growing. I come from a background of web marketing, and it's helpful. It's foundational to helping me learn and grow. But I'm an old new guy.
So stay tuned, and we look forward to seeing you guys again. We're about to have a great conversation, Don. And for the people that don't know you, Don is like our rookie of the year. He joined the company last year. Well, actually, no, I lied. You joined the company in 2024, December of 2024, right?
Technically, yeah.
Okay,
It
cool.
makes it sound like it was longer ago. It
Yeah.
was like a week into
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
year.
Let's just say December
For
of
a year.
2024. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been here for a year.
Yeah.
You come from a different world.
Uh-huh.
And the cool thing about it is it's actually not that different when you really think about it.
No.
So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Just coming from I was going to say I did 20 years, but that makes it sound bad, like it was like a sentence or something. I worked in like the web marketing field for about 20 years. So, and just, we dance around UX, UI stuff, but we usually tried to sort of bypass that, and the results made me sad a lot of the times. and I always found myself like just aching to go back and like answer all these unsolved questions that I wish I would have had and would have steered the ship a different direction. So it was exciting to think I could just solve that problem now instead of trying to create something that's potentially a giant mess and ineffective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you think about it, like I think both careers, if you think as far as like family relationships, we're like distant cousins.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah,
technically you
totally.
still do a little bit of what we do.
Yeah.
But
We're together on Thanksgiving.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But today we have a cool topic, and it's something that has been going around.
Mm-hmm.
It's very popular. Today we're going to talk
Not
about
COVID.
AI. No, definitely not COVID.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no. Today we're going to talk about AI
Mhm.
and the integration of AI into UX,
Mhm.
UI, and what the future looks like. So I've put together a list of questions, and I want to go back and forth because I really want to hear, your inputs. Coming from a different world, having 20 years of experience
Mhm.
to now coming into UX, UI, and then diving into, our world for the past 1 year. You've been working on some really cool projects.
Mhm.
One that's about to launch this month for the idaho.gov website.
Yeah.
And then we've been working on some really cool accessibility items and initiatives for the team. So you've been a part of a few things.
Mhm.
Up to this point, I think you've gotten a lot of experience of what it's like working in UX, UI. But we've been also looking at some integrations of AI into our process.
Yes.
So what better way to kind of kick off the conversation than with hearing somebody who's been in the industry for a couple years compared to someone who's been in a similar industry but now into UX UI
Mhm.
for about a year now. So the first question, and again, be open to it, I really want to hear when you think of AI and UX, what are people actually afraid of? And what are some of the things that everyone's really getting excited about?
What people are afraid of, I think there's probably kind of two things. The first one is the thing everybody is concerned about when it comes to AI is like, is it going to take my job?
Mhm.
Um, and I don't want to give like the canned like CEO of AI companies answers like, no, it's going to make everything better. Um, but it really has the potential to enhance everything that you do and make you more efficient. I think in general, AI has a tendency to get us about 80% there, but you can't ignore the human 20% that still remains. You have to check what's being outputted and make sure that it actually makes sense. Um, I think the other part that's probably kind of a concern for people is, especially anybody that's really, got their feet wet in UX UI is going to say, well, this is a very human process. Like this is all about human connection and empathizing and understanding the people that are experiencing whatever the problem is. And if something inhuman and impersonal and just data driven is going to be the beginning and end of that process, what are you going to end up with? And I would just say we're still here, we're still present, and it doesn't work all up by itself. It's not a set it and forget it sort of thing.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you bring it up because a lot of the conversations that I've had are very similar.
Hmm.
Like a lot of designers out there, um, they're coming into the industry. Some of them are brand new,
Hmm.
and it's overwhelming at times
Yeah.
because obviously, like their goal is to land a job. Like their goal is to come in,
Yeah.
like dive into the UX UI field, and you know, obviously, like there has been this misconception that AI is going to be replacing designers. AI is going to be replacing developers. And the way that I see it is a little bit different.
Hmm.
Um, as a manager, for me, what I think AI is really going to help us do is like streamline our process. It's
Yes.
going to
Yeah.
allow the designers and even the developers that we work with to really take some of the mundane task that takes a lot of time to either build or develop
Hmm.
and then allow us to really focus on the important pieces, which for us as UX/UI designers is the human factor, right? At the end of the day, for me, like the way that I'm looking at it is AI is going to be a tool that's going to allow me to really focus on the important pieces.
Hmm.
Um, there's always going to be a human factor included in the mix. I think AI is going to be a great tool when it comes to the creation of like UI, when it comes to like
Hmm.
knocking out like wireframes, when it comes to knocking out high fidelities, even prototypes. Like there's so many tools out there right now that are so helpful. And I'm pretty sure there's some questions around some of those. So I'm not going to dive right into it just yet. But I really love the fact that you're looking at the same way because that's the same way that I look at it as well.
Yeah.
But tying into that, question number two is what is the biggest misconception that AI, um, no, like I'm sorry, what is the biggest misconception about AI's impact in UX UI right now? And I talked a little bit about it, but
Yeah.
I want to pick your brain on that side as well.
So I mean, for us, one thing that I've noticed, kind of coming from the outside looking in, is we we use Figma a lot. We use Figma for things I would have never thought about, and I'm still like, even yesterday, I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought that I could use Figma Make to do this thing. Um, we we rely heavily on Figma in this UX UI space, and Figma Make has gotten pretty amazing. I was thinking about the first time I tried to use it to create something, and I was like, "Oh, this isn't actually all that helpful." And then like a month later, it was like a completely different experience. So it's like it's advancing really quick. Um, but again, I think the fear is always like, well, it's going to get so smart that it's going to just replace me altogether. And
Mhm.
I don't picture that being the case. It is a tool. And it's a tool that's going to increase efficiency and allow you to focus, like you said, on the things that are more fulfilling and really do require more of like a human touch. So like the strategy behind it. And if you can iterate fast, you can look through different possibilities faster. It's just going to make the end result better.
Yeah.
But you're always there. You're always involved.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you bring up Figma Make,
Yeah.
because for me, in the beginning, it was like a love hate relationship.
Yeah.
And it's such a great tool. Like, if
Hmm.
you look at Figma and like all of the environments that it currently has, so you have Figma when you're doing designs, you have FigJam when you're doing research, you have Figma Make when you're doing, like different like iterations,
Hmm.
or even helping you set up the potential look and feel of, whether you're creating a website, whether you're creating, I don't know, like a landing page, whether you're creating some kind of um, page within an application.
Hmm.
And in the beginning, like everyone would always see it as like, okay, well, I'm going to prompt it. It's going to give me the designs. I'm going to copy this design to the Figma board,
Yeah.
which that was actually new. In the beginning, it wasn't able to do that.
Right.
Um, and then, as it progressed, then people started thinking of different ways that you can actually like utilize it.
Hmm.
So now within our team, we don't just use it for the actual creations of the page alone,
Hmm.
but let's say, you create a flow with 10 to 15 pages. You can literally take all those 10 to 15 pages, go in Figma Make, you can prompt it, and you can create a live prototype,
Yeah.
which in the
Yeah.
past, like prototyping used to take like weeks, let alone probably a few months, depending on like how big the flow was.
Yeah. It's tedious.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you had for like some of the old designers that we have probably listening in, you had the spider webs, like the little blue connectors that would
Yeah.
connect one page to the other. Then you would have to think of like, okay, how do I do this micro interaction for a drop down? How do I do this micro interaction for like a loading screen to go to the next page?
Hmm.
And now you're able to do that all within one platform,
Yeah.
which is really cool to see. So I would love to talk more a little bit about your experience using that, because even in our conversation yesterday,
Yeah.
like I didn't even know that apart from creating a prototype, you can actually make it functional.
Hmm.
So like you can actually make it to where if you're building like some kind of layout and then you want to export it as a PDF, it'll let you do that. I
Hmm.
didn't know that. I literally found that out yesterday, which is
That
crazy.
absolutely
Yeah.
same. Yeah, I mean, I never thought of using Make to make a thing that makes things. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
So we created basically we created a tool that we can then use to automate a process that takes us quite a bit of time. And now it's more like a matter of filling out a form and it generates this whole document, like multi-page PDF, and then exports it as as a PDF. It's really cool.
Yeah. That's so
Yeah.
awesome. And that kind of ties a little bit also into the next question, which is obviously as AI gets integrated into our process, as it gets integrated into not just design, but the development phases as well.
Mhm.
Like, what does that look like when it comes to the UX job in the AI power world? And I have some reserved thoughts of that,
Mhm.
because what I found is that when you're using AI, it makes the person a better communicator, because you have to be able to communicate with the platform. You have
It
to be able
does.
to prompt it in a way that, you're having it build the right things,
Yeah.
based on the specifications of like the project that you have, which is really cool. But in my opinion, I think what this integration is going to do, rather than just separate UX UI into like, hey, I'm either a researcher or like I'm either like an
Right.
interface
The two
designer.
sides.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really going to allow like our designers to be more of like strategists, right?
Yeah.
Because we're using tools to automate certain things. Now we can think about the bigger picture, which is like, okay, how do we work with our partners? How do we learn about their world, their industry, their product, and then how do we come up with strategies that no longer have to do with like making it look or feel better, but like how do we tie those strategies into their overall goals that they're trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah.
So whether our partners are trying to get more views, whether our partners are trying to get more conversions, whether they're trying to get more people to buy a product or sign up for a service. I think it's really going to allow our designers to really think, from that perspective, but also like how do we focus on what's really important? As the tools automate our process, we can really keep, you know, our practice at the forefront.
Yeah.
And for us, that's like keeping the user in mind,
Yeah.
right? But then also, now we're not just thinking about actual people, we're also thinking about how AI integrated into the tools, how it would actually look and feel and even search on certain pages.
Hmm.
Because now we have to take that into account as well. Because a lot of the times people don't just go on websites anymore. Now they use ChatGPT, they
Yeah.
use Perplexity.
That's changing fast.
Yeah. So, like, how do we also keep that at the forefront for us as well? But we'd love to prick your brain on that. Like, what does that look like from your point of view?
What part specifically? Like,
Sorry, yeah, I just
yeah.
gave you a lot of
No,
information.
it's
That is
okay.
on me.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, let me
We
create a
talked
better
about
user
prompts, right?
experience. Yeah. Uh, if you can explain in one sentence, what is the UX job in an AI powered world?
Hmm.
And obviously, I use more than one sentence, so feel
Yeah.
free to also do the same.
I'm gonna say it's gonna sound kind of funny, but just keeping it human.
Yeah.
It's a human problem solved by human beings with some help. And just it's gonna need that reminder that it's solving a very human problem. And I think you can't do that without a person.
Yeah.
There better be a human in the mix there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So just, I think, yeah, keeping it human, making sure that it's still addressing the actual problem. Because I think that, we've all been there, whereas designers, we've stared at something for such a long time. We've pursued one solution for such a long time that we may not even remember where we began. And we end up in a place that's like, oh, that's cool, but that doesn't actually give much of a lift here in
Yeah.
terms of what it was that we were trying to affect.
Yeah. You kind of get like side blinds.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
I
like,
mean,
yeah.
from like an agency standpoint, I think that is a very real issue. Like you get to the end of a problem, or I'm sorry, you get to the end of a project or the solution to a problem, and you find out that it really hasn't moved the needle. And that's why there's a million agencies, and you are half the time dealing with a client who's already exasperated because they've already gone through so many iterations of trying to solve this problem
Yeah.
that they have.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, one thing that our team did recently, towards the end of December, was we got together, we had a fun workshop
Mm-hmm.
where we broke down our process, and then the intended goal for that was to understand like how can AI be integrated into the flow.
Yeah.
Now, part of the next question that I wanted to talk about was when you think of AI, from your point of view, obviously we haven't fully finished or solidified our process just yet. But from what you're seeing, from the experience that you've had working on some of the projects that we did in 2025, what do you feel would be the most useful integration, right? So if you were to break it down into our design thinking
Mm-hmm.
methodology, going from like discovery to define, design, and then deliver,
Yeah.
yeah, where do you see some of those AI integrations happening? Like, where do you see it speeding up your process?
Sure. I think it helps with research a ton.
Yeah.
Because research can be very time intensive,
Mhm.
and it's kind of minutia, right? It's like, go find me all these, you know, utility telecoms services across the United States, and there's 600 of them, and I need you to go and tell me, about how many customers each one has. And I mean, there's 1,000 different little mundane tasks where it's like, hey, go do this real fast, and it speeds up the process quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that, especially since I'm really big on ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I use it a lot. I know everyone in the organization uses something different.
Yeah.
Some individuals use Perplexity, some individuals use Claude. I tend to use a mixture of both like ChatGPT and Perplexity. And
Uh-huh.
I found that to be very helpful where, the research that you would conduct that used to take weeks or even months just to gather the data
Mm-hmm.
can now be done within like in a matter of like minutes, maybe a few
Yeah.
hours, just by quickly giving ChatGPT a prompt to say like, if you're working on a project, let's say for example, the partner is um, a gas company. Like you can go in and you can tell ChatGPT like, hey, I want you to give me the top 5 gas companies in the US and I want you to give me their website.
Yeah.
I'll pull the website up for you. And then you can even start diving deeper. You can ask for, okay, like tell me about their user groups, their demographics, tell me about the different kinds of services. Tell me about, how many pages each of these companies
Mm-hmm.
have. You can take that information in a way that allows you to like build, um, you know, fast case studies,
Yeah.
especially when you're doing
Yeah.
competitive analysis. Now, the one thing that I have found, and this is why the human piece for me will always be something that will need to be there, and why the designers should really have nothing to worry about, is that at times, if you're not very careful, ChatGPT can sometimes fabricate
Yeah.
some information.
Got to check your
And
work.
yeah. And if you're not actually reviewing the information that it's given you before you put it into a report, before you give it to a partner, then it could go sideways. I mean, obviously, like I don't think it's going to be catastrophic, but obviously when you're building a report, that you want to pass on to a partner or even a team member, you want to make sure that the information is accurate.
Yeah.
And I think for me, like that's where the experience of having that human factor comes into play, right?
Yeah.
A designer who's actually gone through the research portion, who knows the different types of exercises that we can run, who knows how to leverage the tool in a way that's going to be like more effective.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think when it comes to research, the human piece will always be there.
Yeah.
And what I found is that even when it comes to like UI, Figma Make does a really great job
Mm-hmm.
at creating mockups.
Mm-hmm.
But now let's say you want to change some of those. I've run into like some blockers in the past where I've copied the designs into our Figma board. And then next thing you know, it's like I find myself having to make some small readjustments, maybe to the
Yeah.
spacing or
Yeah.
to the groupings, like making
Yeah.
sure that everything has the right auto layout, making sure that it's like fully responsive, making sure that the naming conventions are properly. So again, great tool that can get you about, I want to say 70 to 80% of the way
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Like the other like 30 to 20%. Obviously, we're gonna need the designer to come in and really look at the designs on the board and be like, okay,
Yeah.
this doesn't meet our industry standards. Let me start fixing some of the things. But then once it's fixed, you drop it back into Figma or you create multiple pages to create your prototype, and then it makes that process a whole lot faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It honestly, it's I find it's like super satisfying to be able to just get to that point so quickly.
Mhm.
And the lift on the human side isn't anything more than like being an editor,
Mhm.
just kind of looking through like grammatical changes and make sure this has a period. It's very similar to that. It's like, okay, we're close. We just got to make a couple of little adjustments here, and um, yeah, I think it just kind of speeds up the process.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I'm kind of curious about, which is, so I'm thinking about like this generation that's just coming into the workforce, and you guys already had it kind of rough because you all graduated during COVID. So your senior year wasn't the coolest senior year ever, or at least the most traditional senior year. And then you went into college, and now you're getting out. And the thing that I do wonder about is how are all of these people going to get kind of the experience of being sort of in a space where they would have been the person doing all the research and kind of doing all the mundane nitty gritty stuff and jumping instantly to a position that would have in the past been more almost like a art director
Hmm.
on the design side, for example.
Yeah.
Like going from straight being out of school to boom, it's like, oh, art director, okay. And what's going to happen to them when it comes to like that like progression of their career, because they missed this whole chunk because now it's like this is what AI does,
Yeah.
you know. So I am kind of curious about how that starts to affect people, and I don't think that we've had enough time to really see what that effect's going to
Hmm.
be. So
Yeah.
when we talk about the benefits versus like the downsides, that's one thing that I'm kind of curious to see how it shakes out.
Yeah. I think that's where the mentorship aspect comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because we're starting to integrate AI into our process. Um, for me as a manager, it doesn't mean that I don't want to stop, looking for new talents
Mm-hmm.
that are going to come in and they're going to, give some fresh new inputs
Mm-hmm.
around how we can either streamline or make our process a whole lot better. Um, but at the same time, there's also an opportunity for some of the designers who've been in the industry for like 5+ years to then pass on that knowledge and
Yeah.
expertise um, to the new designers that are coming into the industry, right? Like over the past 5+ years that I've been in, like I've seen a change of different tool sets. Like when I first went to the UX/UI bootcamp that I graduated from, um, when I did the pre-course, I was actually using Sketch.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Now, mind you, like that, like some people don't use that anymore. Some companies actually still use it.
They do. Yeah.
So it was like you were using Sketch, you were using like Adobe products like InDesign and like Photoshop and
XD.
yeah, all of these other like XD.
Yeah.
And then Figma came out and it was like this brand new shiny tool. And then we started using it. And I remember um, when I went to the boot camp, like I was so adamant about learning every single aspect of the tool. Back then, we didn't have like the different variations like we do have now. So before you had to make styles, you
Mm-hmm.
couldn't make certain things,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's a little bit different. Now it's easier, but back in the days, like in order for you to create like a prototype, you really needed to be in line with how prototype worked. Like you
Yeah.
needed
The
to
whole
understand
flow.
like how to create components, like how to create switches from one section to the other. When you click on one box, then the next box would be clicked versus when you
Yeah.
click it, then it unclicks. And I remember in the beginning, my way of doing that was just creating different variations of the same page where every
Yeah.
click you would do, it would just change the layout just a little bit.
Yeah.
And
That's really like where I'm at
yeah,
coming into this skill level. I mean, that's where I live right now.
yeah. I broke
Yeah.
Figma when I did that. Like everything just completely just like stopped and it was just like yeah, it was crazy for me. But overall, um I don't think it's going to be as crazy as we might think
Okay.
with all the new tools coming into the industry, especially not just AI, but other tools like, UX Pilot, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's something that integrates AI, but it
Yeah.
makes the process of like drafting, wireframes, even sitemaps a whole lot faster.
Yeah.
And it's a tool that we're also looking into integrating into our process that will give us that competitive advantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because as new tools come out, some agencies are going to look at it and they're going to be like, well, is this something that we can use to cut cost?
Right.
And a lot of the times when we're cutting costs, that means like, well, if we already have this tool, the dust is, why would we need to hire somebody to come in and
Yeah.
actually, help and do these things? And for me, again, tying into the next question of like, what are some design tasks that should be automated using AI
Mm-hmm.
versus what are some that require taste, require judgment, require context?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like there's a lot of them. Like for example, like I would never have AI do an interview. Like, like I would never have AI ask the questions because there's like a human factor that,
Yeah.
needs to be involved. And a process of that could be like, let's say, for example, if you're interviewing someone, you're not just looking at the questions and then asking the questions, but you're also looking at the overall, human factor, the behavior, the psychology behind like
Mhm.
why people do what they do, why they think the way that they think. And there could be questions that we can ask that would allow us to really understand a little bit
Yeah.
deeper as to like what they mean. Or as they're answering the question, really looking at like their body language to see like, hey, I saw that you said you were comfortable with that,
Mhm.
but your body language tells me something different. You got a
Yeah.
little bit tense
Yeah.
there. But yeah, like I think there's going to be different um, steps of the process where that's not going to be integrated. But
Agreed.
yeah,
Like 100%. And I will say this too, just like as like a little proof, like our team hasn't gotten smaller with the advent of AI. Like it just makes us it ups our capacity, right? So we haven't shrunk in size, and it's not like we're not hiring anymore or anything like that. Like it hasn't affected our number of personnel. It
yeah,
just makes it so that we can do more quicker. It
yeah.
it absolutely is a tool to create abundance.
I love that. Yeah.
Plug for our brand.
So going back to, you know, the changes that I think a designer would have to go through. One of them, which I think is going to be very big, which is going to really determine the success. Because again, AI is a great tool, but if you don't know how to communicate
Yeah.
properly,
Yeah.
you don't get very far. You might get somewhere, but you're not going to get very far
Hmm.
into it. And this is also where I see both like the UX, UI, and the development piece continuing to have actual people reviewing it in a way that it's like, let's say, for example, like vibe coding has also been something that's like super big in the industry right now,
Yeah.
where you can prompt the AI and it'll build you like a whole page or
Hmm.
it'll build you a whole website. It might even build you like a full like application, right?
Yeah.
Now, from the development standpoint, if you want to change something, you either have to be very good at communicating that
Hmm.
within the prompt, or you have to be really good at understanding where in the code
Yeah.
you have to
Exactly.
go in and actually update,
Yeah.
whether it's a color, whether it's a spacing, whether it's a size. And I'm actually a big fan because I've tried vibe coding before. And the biggest thing I remember, like for almost 2 hours, I was fighting back and forth with the AI chat because every time that I would prompt it to be like, hey, this table does not match the same height and the width of the
Hmm.
table next to it. Can you make table three, for example, match the same height and width? And then it would just make the other table extremely bigger. So now I have this additional white
Yeah.
space. And almost for like 2.5 hours, I was just going back and forth. And I just gave up to the point where I'm just like, all right, undo everything. Just keep it as it is. It's not
Never
really that
mind.
bad. I just had to accept it.
Yeah.
Where again, like AI for UX UI would be the same, right? You're gonna use Figma Make. You're gonna give it a great prompt. You're gonna, have the prompt create something that's beautiful,
Hmm.
and then you're gonna look at it and be like, oh man, like the spacing or the padding or the colors, maybe it doesn't match right here.
Yeah.
So it's either you learn how to communicate it to where it does it, or the next thing is you have to export that file into Figma and you have to make the changes yourself
Yeah.
and then drop it back into Figma Make so it can update what it built. But if you don't know how to do that,
Hmm.
then who's going to do it? Right.
Yeah.
And that's where that human factor for me still comes into play. But
Yeah.
yeah, what about you?
The other thing I was thinking when you were saying that too is just the fact that there was a time not so long ago where Figma couldn't do what it does now, which is it refers to a design system. So we can say use this design system, which includes things like spacing and just the right rules in place, and then you can create something that is a lot more consistent. So you can refer to something that sets those rules where you used to not be able to do that, and that's been super helpful. Um, it also kind of helps you, like you said, become better at communicating. Like a creative brief
Hmm.
becomes a heck of a lot easier because you're just so well versed in like prompting things in a way that's going to be universally understood, that it helps like speed the process up. But that's all something that you as a human being have to be involved in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Now, I know we're almost close on time,
Are
so
we?
I might, yeah,
We have like 47 questions left.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think we might have to cut that down a little bit. But I'm curious to know, um, with what you do at the moment. Um, yesterday you and I and Josue had a great conversation.
Mhm.
We're building um, this thing using Figma Make that's taking one of our process within accessibility and figuring out ways that we can automate
Mhm.
to where we can get the overall results a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really cool because I want to hear your point of view from it. Because when we started that initiative early on, it used to take like two
Yeah.
teams. It would be the UX UI design team, we would have the marketing team,
Yeah.
and it would take us almost like a full day just to gather the information.
Mhm.
Then we were able to develop a new process that allow us to actually now only have two people,
Mhm.
still from both team, like one person
Yep.
from UX, one person from marketing come in. Then we took that process down to like maybe 5 hours. And then we found that it's like, okay, this is something that's really popular. We have like 10 requests coming in.
Yeah.
This is like way too much. And then somewhere along the way, we started to get even busier. So then we didn't have that other party. So like marketing had their own stuff that they were doing
Mhm.
internally for the company. So then as a team, UX UI design took on actually building out the overall flow.
Yeah.
And then recently you and I had a great conversation where we started to take some of the information, we plugged it into ChatGPT. It was able to give us the right formats for us to then go into Figma and replace it.
Mhm.
And now, yesterday, Josue found a way to take Figma Make, create like a format that allows you to input all the information into fields,
Yeah.
and then it does all of the changes within the files automatically without us having to go into the Figma board and have to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
But not only that, also exported the same way
Mhm.
in a format that we can now send to our partners so we can show them, like, hey, here are some of the accessibility gaps within your website. Here's how we can work with you to help remediate some of these
Mhm.
things. And just thinking of the overall process of like how AI has streamlined that.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know from your side now in 2026, like how do you feel like you're going to integrate that into some of the projects that you're going to be
Yeah.
working on? Like what does that look like for the future for you and for
Yeah.
like the projects that we have in the pipeline?
It made me think about it in a totally different way because I've been involved in that process from when it started till now. The jump we made yesterday alone was like all of this in like a day.
Yeah.
So it's breakthroughs fast. And I think that that's really powerful. Trying to think of the way to word it. Thinking how to think faster and thinking how to make this, this just doesn't sound right. Thinking of how to make a thing make something faster.
Yeah.
I did it just yeah, it increases like productivity exponentially. And now all of a sudden, like who at their job is twiddling their thumbs these days? It's pretty rare. If it's anything, it's the exact opposite. It's like we have way too much to do, and all of a sudden you start to see these ways that you can use AI to buy you time.
Hmm.
You get time back in your day, and all of a sudden it's like everybody's always asked themselves, it's like, man, if I just had more time, think of the things I could do. This buys time.
Yeah.
Like you can't get more time in a day, but you can do more in a day because now all of a sudden there's something that can do it so much quicker than you could. And we can build tools like that. And so now to think about like everything we do from point A to point B in the world of UX UI and stop and say, wait, I don't have to do this piece. Like this piece could be done so much better by AI. It just makes you more powerful.
Yeah. And tying this a little bit into the question that you had before, um, when it comes to the new individuals that are coming
Yeah.
into the industry, this is where the powerful piece for me um, shows up, where, this tool has been out for quite some time now, but
In
we
the
had,
world of technology.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then we
It's like a
had,
blip in time.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. So like we had Josue join our team recently,
Mhm.
and he's kind of like the new rookie on the team. He's a new kid on the block. And here's what I love about it, that because he's new, because he's growing up in a world where now
Mhm.
this for him is normal, now he's able to partner with you,
Yeah.
and you guys are able to talk through like, hey, have we ever thought of this from this angle?
Mhm.
And how do we create it? And then even after you told me, like I called you guys back and I was like, okay, now that we've done this and
Yeah.
automated the process for the accessibility audit, are we able to do the same for an SOW?
Wait a minute. That
Like,
gives
what
me an
does that look
idea,
like?
right?
Yeah. So, like,
Yeah.
that ripple effect that he created now
Mhm.
creates more of a spark in us, like
Mhm.
the oldies, I would say. Um, that now we could say, like, oh, wow, like, I wonder what other possibilities we've never thought of because we
Yeah.
haven't looked at this tool this way. But
Discovering the possibility was a very human thing that couldn't have happened any other way.
exactly.
Because when we took that on, it was more like, hey Don, go show Josue how we do this. And so I was like, okay, well, it was this way, and now we've gotten it to a place where it's this way. How cool is this?
Yeah.
And he's sitting there like, wait, I could make this so much faster, guys. Watch this.
Yeah.
And then utilizes AI to show us like something that I wasn't even considering.
Yeah.
I was just trying to show him how we do it so
Yeah.
that he could help us.
Yeah. We just found a better process to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And he's like, nope, we could do so much more. Check this out. Watch. I have an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was amazing.
That's awesome, man.
Mhm.
Well, I know we're short on time, so I'll ask you one last question. So, what advice would you give to some of the junior designers, or even some of the designers that are graduating boot camp,
Mhm.
or like they're graduating college and they're
Yeah.
going into the industry? Like, what advice would you give them so as they're coming into the industry, they're less worried about AI replacing them
Right.
and more excited about, like, man, how do I use AI
Yeah.
to make myself more successful in this industry?
It's a tool. Don't be afraid of it. Don't avoid it. Don't think that in picking it up and using it, you're going to like work yourself out of a job. It's just a new tool. And this is going to happen over and over again in your career. New tool comes along, embrace the tool, figure out how to utilize it in a way that makes sense for you and just like gives it like supercharges your whole process.
Yeah.
It's not scary. Don't be afraid. And that comes from a guy who's old. So, it's like I've seen so many changes over the years. When I started doing this, there was no such thing as a smartphone.
Yeah.
So,
You're just designing on
yeah,
paper.
yeah, exactly. So change happens, and adopting new tools happens fast.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of it. AI is not gonna be a bad thing. Just use the crap out of it.
Yeah.
Um, Play with different models. See what the differences are between the different tools. Always be contrasting and comparing, and always be experimenting. Leave yourself space to experiment. Because if you get too stuck in a rut, like what I was just explaining, it's like, hey, look what we did with this process. I would never have considered like the extra perspective of somebody to say, hey, we can automate this way more than it even is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say from my end, best advice I could probably give is like build a foundation,
Mhm.
right? Like understanding best practice, understanding, how to do the job, how to design things right.
Mhm.
I think helps you build the foundation with the right principles. As you get into the industry, you start working on your practical application. And practical application for me is just getting the repetition through the engagements that you have on projects. And then, and this is something that I always tell some of the designers on the team, like the only thing that will separate a junior designer or a brand new designer from a senior designer is process.
Mm-hmm.
They don't just understand UX UI, but they understand the process and they understand how to make something either faster, how to make something better, how to collect information in like record time.
Mhm.
And then the other thing that I tell the senior designers is the only thing that separates you as a senior like designer from me as a manager is now you're no longer thinking about just the process. You're no longer thinking just about UX UI. You're thinking about the strategy, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how do you take what we know about UX UI and about projects and people, and then how do we help our partners create strategies that allow them to accomplish their business goals?
Mm-hmm.
But then how do you also tie that into the user needs, right? It's all about end to end strategy.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's like the biggest piece that I'm most excited for because I do want to see the time. I do want to see the world where designers become more strategist. Even in our team, we have different specialities.
Mm-hmm.
Like our designers are cross trained.
Yeah.
You know, some are BA, some have project management experience. Obviously, everyone has UX UI design experience. Some individuals are really good with AI. Some are great with accessibility. But the fact that we're all together working in a shared space, we're
Yeah.
able to bounce those ideas off of each other. So, tying a little bit into that, I would also say what you said, like, don't be so, you know, in love with just one singular idea because in this industry, something's always going to change.
Yeah.
And I think as designers, we have to learn how to adapt, we have to learn how to overcome, and we have to learn how to take what we know and just continue to provide the value, right? As long as we're providing value for our partners, as long as we're providing value for the users, you know, as long as we're helping them accomplish their business goals, I think there's always going to be a job for UX UI. There's always
Yeah.
going to be a job for development.
Yeah.
So,
Even more so, to be honest. I think the need might even increase.
yeah,
So,
100%.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man.
Mhm.
Well, that is all the time we have today, folks. It was really great talking to you, Don. I'm extremely excited to see what you're able to accomplish in 2026 and what we're able to accomplish as a team.
Yeah.
I think 2026 is looking great, and we're probably going to be adding some more people later, you know, in line as we start to close some of these projects. But yeah, stay tuned, and we'll see you guys at the next episode.
Thanks for watching this In Time Tech podcast. If you'd like to learn more about what we can offer you, please visit our website, intimetech.com, where you'll be able to see the different capabilities and technologies we could provide you in your business. Also, don't forget to subscribe and follow us to get more amazing content like this. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.